One of the common thing today, a problem faced by several people is addiction. So the practical thing that those people who are struggling with addiction might seek ways how they can kind of get over the kind of addiction. So how can Buddha's Dhamma or middle way training can help those who struggle with addiction issues and are wanting to get over the kind of their issues that they're experiencing with addiction? So to discuss a bit from the practical point of view, it is possible to apply middle mind training for those who experience any kind of problems, including addiction. Only thing is important that those who are applying it actually wanting to apply it for themselves, because it's a kind of a self-applying process. But at the same time, as a consequences of applying the technique, the person who applies will kind of be able to experience positive effect of getting over the kind of unwholesome habits, including addiction. So what are the kind of techniques that a person who experiences addiction can adapt when they have bothersome thoughts that are constantly coming into their mind? So one technique can be that when they have thoughts that are coming into their mind, encouraging them to go and take more alcohol or drugs and similar things, if they can kind of understand this process, bring back the mindfulness to reflect that just because their thoughts are actually encouraging them to take more alcohol and drugs, these thoughts are actually not acting in the interest of themselves, because the overuse of alcohol and drugs can harm their organs, can harm somebody's body, can ruin their relationship, can ruin all aspects of life, and also kind of damage organs as well, as that could well be the bringing into the end of their life. So if you look at the whole circumstances or the consequences that the addiction brings to you as a whole, rather than just focusing your attention into 2 minutes or a few minutes of satisfaction, then you would see how bigger the consequences are and how unwholesome the consequences and their impact on you in comparison to a few minutes satisfaction. That is a one technique that if you could slowly develop by thinking again and again, that can help you to kind of reduce kind of habits of consuming excessive amount of alcohol or substances and similar things. Another technique that can help you is to kind of understand when you kind of have these unwholesome thoughts. If actually the thoughts were you, then you should be able to have a control of it. And at the first place, if that were you, then you wouldn't necessarily be doing any harm to yourself. But these thoughts are coming autonomously. So if you can kind of understand and divide your thoughts to kind of reflect that these thoughts are not doing any good to you, such as inviting you to consume excessive amount of alcohol, drugs, and so on. Whereas certain thoughts in you can ask you to do certain good things, such as cut off them and reduce the amount of alcohol you take, and so on. So if you can constantly identify your own thoughts and divide them as what is good for you and for others, and what is bad for yourself and for others, this is another technique that can help you in reducing or to get over the kind of bad habits that you have, if you will constantly remind yourself and apply them over and over again. So there is a kind of sense of pushing yourself is needed, as it is you who has the most power to push yourself into the right direction. So instead of becoming a slave to yourself, you can be the master of yourself by understanding what are your thoughts that are harming you, and by understanding the kind of thoughts that are doing good to yourself, and so on. And another technique that can be useful is actually when you have any kind of unwholesome thoughts. It may be that something happened in the past makes you feel really horribly or terribly sad about something, or something that's going to happen in the future keeps you worried to an excessive amount of level, or you just can't help yourself, like you feel like over consuming alcohol and drugs and similar things. So when you know you have these kind of thoughts, instead of deviating your energy into taking an action to fulfill your such thoughts, if you could understand your thoughts but deviate an action into taking and doing something positive. So when you have these bad thoughts, meaning the thoughts that can harm you, encouraging you to consume excessive amount of alcohol and drugs and so on, if you can instead engage in doing wholesome things, so when you have such thoughts, perhaps if you have family, you could go and do something nice for them. Or even if you don't have family around, if you have bad thoughts, you could perhaps think of treating yourself nicer for a nicer meal or nicer rest, perhaps meeting up with a friend who is kind of nice to you. So doing something that is good to you, so replacing and deviating these unwholesome thoughts that are encouraging you to engage in unwholesome actions into something wholesome, meaning something that can bring good consequences on you and for others. If you can deviate this energy into different direction, that can help you to kind of reduce your bad habits and replacing them with something that helps you to become happier and healthier. And essentially, to adapt these kind of 3 techniques, and actually we could discuss more techniques, it's a constant, it can feel like a constant struggle, but it is, if the struggle is worth in the end, and if you feel like you really want to give up the kind of bad habits you had because you realize they actually, instead of for a few minutes of satisfaction, you suffer in the long run, then it's worth considering to kind of adapt techniques slowly in your own space, within your own limit, to kind of let go of unwholesome habits and replace with more wholesome ones in the middle way.